What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sir Hunt's Reviews. My name's Mark, and this is going to be something quite a bit different. We're not going to be talking about Game of Thrones, but I'm actually sitting here with my girlfriend, and we're going to discuss a little bit of Stranger Things. Now, if this topic gets sidetracked and I start explaining to her how awesome Game of Thrones is, please excuse that. Without any further ado, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Olivia. I'm Mark's girlfriend, and I like Stranger Things, so let's talk about it.
Are you a fan of Game of Thrones, or
No.
is there a reason why? Or, mind you, there could be thousands of people watching this right now.
I know,
that might
that's
get
why
offended.
I'm hesitant to say. I just never really got into it, so I'm not a fan. I'm not hating.
It's too much talking.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. I'm sorry. I'll give it another shot.
Yeah, I think we will have to do that, but we'll say that for another time. As in regards to Stranger Things, who's your favorite character?
Well, I think 11 is definitely one of my favorite characters. I think she's pretty badass, especially for only being a child. And then, of course, I loved Bob Newby as well. I thought he was pretty cool. Only, I will say, when he was first introduced, I thought maybe he was going to be like a bad guy because he was like a little bit sketchy, especially with that advice he gave Will. But then I ended up really loving him. I'm sad he's gone.
Yeah, you could almost blame him, Bob. That is Sean Astin, a.k.a. Samwise Gamgee, a.k.a. main character from the Goonies. You can almost blame him for Will being possessed because he told him, hey, look, dude, you go and you confront that monster and you call him out. You tell him, hey, fuck off, buddy. And, thanks to that, that's why the boy got possessed. So I agree with you in the sense that 11 is definitely one of my favorite characters. I think she was a bit of a deus ex machina, and I know there's going to be assholes down in the comment who are telling me I'm using that wrong, but basically everyone was about to die. She came out of nowhere and saved the day. Not technically out of nowhere, so I guess it's not quite deus ex machina, but she really did come in, from left field and just clear everything out. It was pretty badass. I'm a huge fan of Bob. I think my favorite character out of all of the characters in both seasons, I'm probably gonna have to say is Dart. Yeah, I know it's not a popular one, but that little guy, it was pretty adorable to watch. The what's that kid's name? The one who's missing the teeth.
Dustin.
Yeah, it was cool to see Dustin kind of protecting him, and then once he realized he had fucked up, they started hunting him, and I really enjoyed Dustin's moment with the what's the bully guy's name? Steve, I think is yeah, I think it is
Nancy's boyfriend?
Yeah, Steve is his name. I really enjoyed Steve and Dustin's few scenes they had together when they're searching for shit. He asks him how to do his hair, and it's really funny. He tells him he basically uses a woman's product, the Flayer faucet bangs. Now we're not going to be diving into in depth. We're not going to be discussing each of whatever happened in the moment. But what I will do, just for anyone who hasn't seen the show, I'm going to read a brief synopsis of what this show is about. So it takes place in 1984, and the citizens of Hawkins, Indiana, are still reeling in from the horrors of the Demogorgon and the secrets of the Hawkins lab. Will Byers has been rescued from the Upside Down, but a bigger, sinister entity still threatens those who survived. So it takes place, still in the 80s. We pick up basically a year where we left off from the last season. Okay, so we already talked about your favorite moment. What was our both favorite moments, or favorite characters rather? Sorry, I'm the one getting tongue-tied here. What was your favorite moment from, season 2, or Stranger Things 2 rather?
There was a lot. I think 11's re-entrance into Hawkins, when the Demogorgons were about to kill everybody inside their house. I thought that was pretty badass. I also really thought the dance scene was cute. I really also liked the scene when they were going through the maze or whatever underground, how like you were saying, Dart recognized Dustin and let them kind of pass. He could have killed him, but you could tell that there was still a connection there. I thought that was really cool way to do that.
Yeah, it came back because everyone's giving him shit about wanting to keep that thing as a pet. It comes back and saves him at the last second, because if he hadn't recognized him, and I think it's hard for me to tell because I was watching it on a dark screen, but I think the main difference you'd be able to tell Dart from the rest of the Demogorgons was the fact that he had some weird sort of color coding on him, like a spot on his back. But if Dustin hadn't done that, then he wouldn't have saved everyone's ass. Now he did technically, make it a little bit harder for people throughout the town when Dart went hunting. Dart killed his mom's cat, but that cat was annoying anyway. I'm just kidding. So okay, so your favorite moment was basically, would you just say when 11 came back?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'd say my favorite moment was most likely when I'd say the whole Halloween episode. I enjoyed that whole thing. It was interesting to see Mad Max's relationship with her brother. I wasn't sure what was going to go on with that. I thought he was going to definitely run over the kids, but then I'm like, nah, no one's going to die. This isn't Game of Thrones. They're not just going to wipe them out like that. But they ended up killing Bob at the end of the season. Oh, spoiler alert! So they aren't afraid to kill people. You know, they killed Barb last season. The heavier set Molly Ringwald. So they're not afraid to kill people. But I think these main characters, for the most part, I'd say they are safe. These main characters being Joyce, Jim Hopper, the sheriff, Mike, 11, Dustin, Lucas, Will, Max, Nancy. Well, I guess you can consider Max a main character now. I'm pretty sure they're not going to kill her off. They seem to kill off older teenagers and adults, like teenagers who are almost of age, and then adults. We haven't quite seen them kill off a kid. Now, we thought Will Byers died, like obviously the first couple episodes of Stranger Things, the original season, but it seems like they're straying away from that. You know, but they do show, I'm not going to lie, like I thought 11 died last season when she got sucked through that portal. They do show them taking on a lot of damage, one would say, if you play RPG games. But I don't think they're hardcore in the sense that they're just going to start wiping these kids out. So I knew they would be safe, but that moment was so intense. I'm like, wow, this feels like I'm watching an entirely new show. You know what I mean? Because one of my biggest stipulations was going into Season 2 was thinking that, okay, they're going to try to re-emulate Season 1, and in doing so, they're going to ruin whatever chance they had. No, they completely approached it from a new angle, and I like the fact that they took a year off in between seasons. Like basically, obviously we got Stranger Things 2 last year and then we got another one this year, so they didn't technically take a year off, but the kids are aging, so it only makes sense that they take a year, like they skip a year basically in the show storyline to show these kids aging. So it will be interesting to see if going into Stranger Things Part 3, how much time passes in between those, because the kids are going to be aging up even more. They're like 15, 16, so they're going to start looking like adults pretty soon. It's going to be insane if we're watching 15, 16-year-olds pretending to be what I guess they would be in ninth grade next year. But if they skipped a few years and maybe did it like their sophomores or juniors or something, I don't know. It'd be pretty interesting. But I feel like if you take too much time off, you kind of think, like, why didn't anything happen in that year? You know what I mean? Like, why is it all of a sudden it comes around, like, basically whenever we pick up with him and it's a year later? What happens in that in-between time? So I don't know if they'll take too much of a break, but I do think there will be another year jump, similar to how they did last season. What do you think? Do you think they're going to, going into Stranger Things Season 3, do you think they're going to skip another year of these kids' life to maybe show them how they aged up a bit?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think they'll, it seems like that's the path they've been following. I think they were in like 7th grade before and then 8th grade the next year, so it would make sense to stay consistent. I mean, I don't think they'll skip too far ahead.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's the biggest issue with child actors, in my opinion anyway, is like either the kids acting ruins the scene, or you have a ridiculously old child pretending to be a ridiculously young child. Those are the two biggest issues with working with child actors, is they age out of their character so quickly. So you kind of have to age their counterpart for the TV show the same way. It's not like The Simpsons, where Maggie and Bart and Lisa, they've all been the same age for 25 years, since before we were born, or since we were 2 years old, they've been the same age. You can't do that in real-life action TV. So it would be smart if they age these characters up a little bit so that, they kind of fit in with how they actually look in real life. There's only so much of, like, voice-cracking emulation they can do, because eventually all of their voices are going to get deeper, not necessarily for the girls, but for the 5 main boys, it'll be harder for them to pretend to be a lot younger for longer. So we talked about our favorite moment, favorite characters, going into Season 2. What was a moment that you didn't like? Was there any moments from the whole, like, I guess we'll just make it easier. We'll pick Series 2 from Stranger Things 2. Was there any moment where you were like, oh, this is getting a little bit ridiculous? I can start if you'd like. Mine was when, I think it was 7, or what is it, 8, her Indian sister, remember? Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. I was a big fan of how they, like, changed 11's look. It's just not believable that somehow, these people wouldn't get caught. I'm like, okay, they're stretching it a little bit too much. And I know the point of that was to show you that, there's other characters that could potentially have similar powers to 11, and maybe she's the strongest out of all of them, because the other girl can basically make you believe or think what she wanted you to think. Now, that's a pretty powerful power in and of itself, but if you have someone like 11 who's countering that, she could easily put up some sort of mental force field and Honestly, I feel like telekinesis is a bit better of a power than being super influential, just because I could lift a tree up out of the ground and launch it 500 feet. It's more useful to me. But I feel like that whole situation, like all those little characters that were part of 8's group or whatever, not a big fan of that. I feel like it could have been cut down to less than taking up an entire episode. But that's like that's being overcritical. You know what I mean? I still thoroughly enjoyed that scene. But if I had to pick one thing, I'd say it's just they spent a little bit too much time. But what it does do on the positive side is that it opens up, for these future seasons to come, it opens up possibilities of us seeing a 6 or a 5 or a 4 or an original 1 or maybe a 12, someone after 11. You never know. It opens up that possibility. And honestly, it'd be cool as shit if, Will developed these powers from being in the Upside Down. Maybe he's able to manipulate time or something like that. Maybe he's able to, slow time down or something. I know that's, kind of a far stretch, but maybe he's able to do pyrokinesis. I don't know. Do you have any issues with, because I started to get sidetracked there. I wanted to talk about, something. It's still along the line of Stranger Things, but I started to see myself going down that path. So do you have any scenes or moments from the show that you're like, okay, they could have done that a little bit better, maybe written it a little bit better?
I was going to say the exact same thing as you. I really did not care at all for the whole her sister episode. It wasn't at all interesting to me. I mean, I guess it was, because it was kind of like, oh, she got reunited. But then the girl just seemed a little disingenuous, and almost like she was, if 11 had spent more time with her, she would have corrupted her and just turned her into somebody she's not. But it did make me happy when she left and when she recognized that. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I'll just say I didn't care for any of that, really. I was like, no.
Yeah, I just feel like they spent just too much time on it. If you want to take a whole episode, that's fine, but we only have 8 episodes total. I guess 9 episodes total this season, so it's kind of maybe half an episode would be good. But that leads me into thinking of, what could come from these potential people that, I guess, you could say in some sort of way 11's brothers and sisters. What could that potentially bring up? That just opens a whole can of worms. It's like, I don't know. What if there's a 13 who's an 11, but what if they continue to do it and this 12 or this 13 is coming up? Do you think there's a possibility that we'll see more of 11 siblings?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think 11 will know them because I think she was, close to the girl that I can't remember that character's name.
Yeah, they were in the Rainbow Room together.
Yeah, I know that she was close to her and they got torn apart, but I don't think, like I said, she'll know these new characters, but I think that they will hopefully slowly introduce more. But then it might get a little cheesy, because then it might be kind of like Goonies meets X-Men. You know what I mean? You don't really want that either. That's kind of all been done.
Yeah, so okay, so here's the whole thing with that. I feel like, and it sounds like I was going to make a comment on what you just said, but I'm really not. I'm just trying to segue into the next thing. I honestly think that Dustin and Sheriff Hopper have gotten a little bit of that slime in them, similar to what happened with Will. Now, Will was down there for several days, and he had those tentacles going in and all throughout his mouth, and that's what made him have that slug baby and basically make it possible for him to have those flashbacks and then get possessed by the the Flayer, I guess, the Mind Flayer is what they ended up calling him. Now, we did see a moment where Dustin and Sheriff Hopper both inhaled this mysterious gas shit. It was like a gas pod. It's almost, if you ever seen the Alien or Predator movies, you know what I'm talking about. There's these little spores that you inhale. I think it was in the most recent Alien. It was a follow-up to Prometheus. I can't think of the name right now, but basically they inhaled these spores. Those spores were the active virus, and then they started getting infected that way. So we saw Sheriff Hopper and Dustin both inhaled those when they were underneath in the upside down tunnels. So what kind of effect do you think that will have going forward? Do you think we're going to see a Dustin get possessed? I would like to see someone else share the spotlight other than Will, Mike, and 11. You know what I mean? So obviously we've had whole episodes that focused mainly on what Hopper was going through last season, but we kind of didn't get an entire episode focusing on him. We did. It was him and 11. You know what I mean? But it's almost like you get to see great character growth and great acting skills when someone is forced to like for example, Will Byers, one of the best child actors on the show, just from all the shit that he has to get. he was missing, but he has all of these, like, he has to play an emotional, not all the way there, and for someone his age, that's impeccable acting skills to be able to pull off something like that. So back to the original question. Do you think Dustin and Sheriff Hopper are going to be not necessarily possessed next season, but do you think they're going to be coughing up green slugs?
I don't know about coughing up green slugs, but I think it would be interesting to see other characters kind of their interaction, with the Demogorgon, other than just like fighting it, like actually being infected by it or affected by it. Because like we saw, the last scene was, that other world where you could still see the Demogorgons and stuff hovering over the school. Yeah, the Upside Down. So it's obviously still very much alive, very much a part of the upcoming episodes and seasons. But I would like to backtrack for a second and just say that even though I don't care for the episode with her sister,
it's Callie.
Yeah, I don't care for that. I will say that I recognize that she played a big role in helping 11 develop her powers further and strengthen them and be able to focus them.
Well, yeah, because she had her move that what was that giant shipping container. But honestly, I think what you're saying, she like taught her how to hone her powers, but also she taught her what's important. She taught her that she did have a reason to fight for her friends. Her friends were worth saving. So that was like the main point of that. I just feel like it took, it didn't need a whole episode to explain. It's like, 11, get your shit together. Those are your friends. Those are your family. Go back and save them. I don't know if I know you don't like venture into Reddit on the theories and stuff, but there's actually this theory that 11 is actually Sheriff Hopper's daughter. Now, if you remember Sheriff Hopper's daughter, the few scenes we saw with him, she had cancer or something, and that's how she died. But do you think it's possible? I definitely don't think that 11 is his daughter, but I definitely think that it could be possible that his daughter was taken by that program, you know what I mean, and was maybe turned into one of those things, because that they were kidnapping, children. So I don't know. I know I kind of I meant to say slip on your tinfoil hats for that theory. But do you think there's any weight to that? Do you think that Hopper's daughter might secretly be 11? Or do you think that Hopper's daughter might have potentially been taken?
I think anything is possible with this show. But I will say that I remember a scene where him and his wife, like, they were coding his daughter. You know what I mean? So, like, she was dying. They were watching it happen. But, of course, anything is possible with that.
Okay, so, you got to go into that a little bit. Now, you said coding. Most of us normal people don't know what that means. But you were actually a registered nurse. So, maybe you can explain a little bit more. Basically, what is that, like flatlining?
Yeah, so basically, she had cancer, right? So, she was in the hospital, and I guess her heart stopped. Her breathing stopped. So, they began to do, like, chest compressions, like CPR, to get her back. And you could see in the scene, she had no heart rate. The line was flat. So that means you have to do CPR to bring the heart back. And, it didn't look like that worked. But
that means you dead.
Yeah, it ends there. So could it be possible that they got her body or made it look like she died, like came in there and gave her a drug and, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because they
control that.
They did that to
totally
Will.
Possible,
remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, if Sheriff Hopper hadn't cut open his stomach and realized there was cotton in there, everyone would have thought Will died. All right, so we've already been doing this for, what has it been, about 20 minutes so far. We're going to kind of keep it kind of short because I just want to, this is sort of like a test thing. If you guys enjoy this, make sure you let us know down in the comment section, and we'll do another one of these sort of podcasts where we're talking about Game of Thrones, and I explained to her some of the greatest moments from the show. But to wrap this up, I'm going to run through the episodes. I'm going to run through the titles and then read the brief synopsises for them, and then we're going to pick one moment from each episode. So starting off with Mad Max, which was the first episode, I guess episode 9 in the entire series, but the first episode of Stranger Things 2 was called Mad Max. As the town preps for Halloween, a high-scoring rival shakes things up in the arcade, and a skeptical Hopper inspects a field of rotting pumpkins. So I'll just start off. My favorite moment from that episode was Hopper talking shit to the black farmer who was losing his mind about all the stuff. It was great. He knows how to shut people down, not necessarily calm them down, but he knows how to shut them down. What was your favorite moment from Mad Max?
I guess just the introduction of a new character. It's hard for me to remember exact moments from.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
I don't want to be wrong and say this happened in an episode because
No worries, we'll go easy down there on you in the comment section. But yeah, so basically, you like the idea of Mad Max coming in. Did you like how basically it turned out to be a girl, and they're all thinking, the whole time, like, who is this guy? How is this guy able to do that?
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and you have red hair too, so yeah. All right, and then the next episode was Trick or Treat Freak, and after Will sees something terrible on Trick or Treat night, Mike wonders if 11 is still out there, and Nancy wrestles with the truth about Barb. So I think from that episode, my favorite moment was with Sean Astin's character before they left for Halloween. You know, he's doing his little thing in the camera, and he's dressed up as Dracula. That was probably any moment with Bob in that episode where Bob's doing something funny is probably going to be my favorite moment. But what was yours from Trick or Treat Freak?
I think that this was the one that had 11 always trying to contact Mike. And I thought that that was really cool, that she was, like, trying to contact him over or, like, that she could hear him over the radio.
Yeah.
I think that this was that episode, and I liked that a lot, because it kind of showed you that she was still there. They were still obviously going to, show you more about that relationship. They
also showed you how her powers have enhanced. She doesn't have to put herself in a salt-filled body of water to sort of astral project like that and reach that mental plane. She's able to just cover up her eyes and do it now, so it's showing you that she's advancing. All right, so on to the third episode, the Pollywog. Dustin adopts a strange new pet. 11 grows up increasingly patient, and a well-meaning Bob urges Will to stand up to his fears. So I'm going to do something different for this one. My least favorite moment of this episode was when Bob tells Will to stand up to his fears, because that basically is what makes Will get possessed by the Mind Flayer. My actual favorite moment was obviously when Dustin with Dart, because that was adorable. How would you not, What about you?
I thought it was funny when he like pulled them into the AV room and showed them Dart, because their reactions were really funny. I liked that part. Obviously introducing Dart was the best part of that episode, because he was cute at first.
Yeah, he grows in size.
Little did you know.
Then he eats the cat. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and read the synopsis for this next episode and then tell us about your favorite
Will the Wise, an ailing Will opens up to Joyce with disturbing results. While Hopper digs for the truth, 11 unearths a surprising discovery. I don't really remember this episode that well.
Okay.
Oh, no, this is the one after. So he's already had his Halloween episode where he's gone into the upside down on Halloween, right?
The bullies pick on him, and when he hits the ground, he ends up being in the upside down, and it was filmed on that camera.
Right, and then this episode is him starting to feel bad again, and they couldn't get his temperature was really low, right, because the thing likes it cold, and this episode was interesting because it was more like just like a whole foreshadowing episode, just kind of showed you like it's about to hit the fan again.
Yeah, this was if I'm not mistaken, this was the one where they had all of the pictures all over the wall. And Will was drawing these different pictures to where Hopper was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Hopper literally was digging for the truth. Remember, he had to dig a hole to get underneath because he figured out he could enter the upside down through digging underneath. And I think 11 unearthing the discovery was about her mother.
Yeah, that was good.
My favorite moment from this episode was definitely, I'd say, I know it's like copying off of what the synopsis says, but I enjoyed the fact that Hopper actually started to find out some shit. Things really started picking up, and we could tell that this plot was not heading to nowhere. We could see where the show was going. I'm a big fan for any type of progression or anything. And like I said, there were certain moments where I felt like, could potentially be a waste of storytelling. But they always pull you in, and you're always finding something strange about the TV show. All right, so the next one was The Spy. This is basically the one where Will is being used to spy on everyone else. The synopsis reads, Will's connection to a shadowy, evil thing. Where the fuck did the thing just go? Grows stronger, but no one's quite sure how to stop it. Elsewhere, Dustin and Steve forge an unlikely bond. So yeah, right off the gate, my favorite moment was for sure when Dustin asked Steve how he gets his hair like that, and he explains to him, hey, look, it's this Farrah Fawcett secret hair. What was your favorite moment from The Spy?
I just thought, I was really impressed by the whole idea, like that it had gone inside him and it was using him almost like a possession. I really thought that was...
Yeah, it's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool way to progress the storyline. Yeah, I thought that was definitely the best part. I was like, oh my God, what are they going to do now? Because then I was thinking the whole time, well, they're going to have to kill Will. That's how all this is going to end. They're going to have to kill him.
Yeah. And you could see his mom, you could see Nancy getting to the point where she might, did I really just call his mom Nancy?
Joyce.
You could see the point where Joyce is getting where she's like at her wit's end. She doesn't, she doesn't trust her child anymore. It's like probably one of the worst feelings in the world is like obviously having to go through all this shit, but then to find out that your son is being used to harm people you care about also, it's kind of like,
Well, because they would like hurt the Demigorgon that they had, like,
and it would hurt him.
It would hurt him, and then you know how he was like not remembering. It was like literally like a scary movie possession or something. It didn't know anything about his life.
Yeah, I think The Spy was definitely one of my favorite episodes of the Stranger Things series too. The next one up is The Lost Sister. Psychic visions draw 11 to a band of violent outcasts and an angry girl with a shadowy past. Now, I'll do, that off-center thing again where I'll pick my least favorite moment, and that was probably this whole episode. I enjoyed it. Now, mind you, it's almost like when I say with Game of Thrones, when I'm nitpicking an episode and I say this is my least favorite part, it does not matter because when you compare it to any other TV show, it's still light years ahead of whatever the fuck anyone else is doing. So when I say that The Lost Sister was my least favorite episodes of Stranger Things, when you compare it to other shows like even The Walking Dead, which I've been a long time fan of up until these past few seasons, it's still it's on a level all in of itself. It's still 10 times better than anything else on television. You know what I mean? So when me saying that's my least favorite episode is not by any way stating that it was a shitty episode. I just felt like we had explained before. We both kind of agree on this. They spent a little bit too much time trying to explain, Eleven's sister. That's just like, and all of it was used to, like you were saying, to get her to hone her powers, and more so to show Eleven that her friends and family are worth fighting for. But what was your favorite moment from this episode?
Well, I think it was like an important episode, but again, just not my favorite. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. But the more we talk about it, the more I do like it, just like for its purpose.
I think my biggest problem was that her friends, like eight being Eleven's sister, all of her friends were jackasses.
Yeah,
like, they were just stupid.
Yeah, they were just like a bit. I mean, they were just opposite of everything that we've seen so far. I think as far as like groups of kids, I guess they weren't kids though; they were probably more like adults. But it just. I did think a really cool part was when she put up the force field. When they found them in the sister Callie, is that her name? And she when they were trying to leave and she made them all see a wall so they could get away, and then 11 stayed. I did like that part. I did not like where they stayed. I was like, where are they? I couldn't figure out if it was Chicago.
Because they're like going, okay, so they're going to go do these crimes and they're basically killing people.
Yeah.
But then they come back to the same fucking warehouse. Like, that doesn't make sense. And then that guy, Axel, he's honestly the most annoying one. He's like, it was almost like Jared Leto playing the Joker. I was like, well, this guy shut the fuck up. Like, his lines were just so cheesy. I don't know. That was probably my biggest.
I thought it was interesting how they didn't have any powers, because at first I thought
they made it seem like they did.
They all had powers. Yeah, that's why I was like, what?
8 is like telling you like, yeah, these people have all been harmed by other people too, and like, no, it just seems like they're drug addicts and fucking homeless people that hung out with you. You're the only one who actually has the right. Not that anyone has the right to go and kill someone else, but you're the only one who has the right to act the way you do. The rest of these people are just douches. But that's just me, strongly opinionated. Like I said, this was my least favorite episode of the entire Stranger Things series, but it's still 10 times ahead of anything else on TV. Next up is the Mind Flayer. You want to read the synopsis for that one?
An unlikely hero steps forward, then a deadly development puts the Hawkins lab on lockdown, trapping Will and several others inside. I think this was one of my favorites.
Yeah, this was definitely my favorite. It was, it was pretty intense, like left to right. This is the episode that, spoiler alert, if you're watching this and you haven't seen Stranger Things 2, well, then you're kind of an idiot, but I'll go ahead and say it, spoiler alert, this is the episode where Bob dies. The way he dies is pretty savage, too, because everyone else had already made it out, so I'm thinking, like, no, they're not going to kill Bob. They killed Barb last season. Why would they keep continuing to kill people whose names start with a B? It's kind of a weird trend, but remember, this show is called Stranger Things. So my favorite moment of this show is also my least favorite moment. That was Bob's dying. I feel like his death definitely added a lot to the plot, enhanced the storytelling, and drove the story forward, which is something that a lot of TV shows struggle with. When someone dies, it's a meaningless death, and it doesn't actually drive the story forward. So it's almost like gore porn, like what The Walking Dead has been since season 6. It's just gore porn. None of the deaths drive the story forward. It's just like, oh, we can kill people. See, I told you we're fucking badass. We'll kill main characters left and right. No, Bob's death served a purpose. And I think one of the purposes, and I know there'll be lots of people that argue with me, but one of the purpose was to drive Sheriff Hopper and Joyce together. You know what I mean? We kind of thought they had gotten together by the end of season 1. I don't know about you guys, but I remember when they first showed everyone after Will had been back for an amount of time, they like skipped a few weeks and they're going around doing that little montage with the music playing. They show Hopper with someone, and I thought for sure it was Joyce, but it wasn't. So I think, if anything, Bob's death drove the story forward, showed us what's important, showed us how, you know, certain people are willing to, a complete stranger, like, obviously, I think him and Nancy went to school, and it's kind of like he was, like, a loser, and she was, like, the hottest thing in the school, and she, like, didn't give him any attention, so he's, like, happy as shit that he got to date the hottest girl in school, and it's, like, he was only been a part of their lives for, you know, X amount of months, and he sacrificed himself for them. So not only did it drive the story forward in that sense, but it also showed you that, you know, Joyce and Hopper will be together. Because honestly, after that happened, who was the first person she went to? Hopper. So what was your favorite moment from the Mind Flayer?
I really liked how much Bob's character developed, because you could tell that he was kind of like, you know, like a really laid back, kind of, not a pansy, but like just like a really chill dude, like hadn't really ever done anything big in his life. And then right before he dies, he's able to like help. You know, what did he go do? He went and restarted the computer system. So
yeah, he gave them time to get out. Yeah.
He, you know, was a hero, and just like the episode says. So I mean, I thought that was definitely the best part of the episode, was him like really coming in and saving the day.
Yeah, not only did he save all of the main characters, but he also saved the asshole doctor, who was nowhere near as big as the asshole as the last doctor with gray hair, who we all thought was dead. Last season, because basically we saw Demogorgon jump on him, but then 8 kept trying to convince 11 that he's still alive. But, you know, what ultimately killed Bob was him going back to save that doctor. You saying you like him, but we weren't supposed to like him at first. You know what I mean? He was lying to them, telling him that that none of the other shit was going on, telling them that he's just a scientist or whatever, and, like, not actually explaining that, no, they're, you know, he waited until it was, like, he had no choice but to explain to them. And, like, yeah, he turned around and he comes back to be a good guy, because we see him at the end of the show. He's still helping and meeting with Hopper and stuff, and he basically gave Hopper a ticket out for 11 for them to, you know, basically say that that's your daughter.
Let me clarify before people come for me in the comments that I liked him towards the end of the series, when I saw that, you know, he was trying to turn things around.
All right, and then the last episode is called The Gate. 11 makes plans to finish what she started, while the survivors turn up the heat on the monstrous force that's holding Will hostage. So what was your favorite moment from that episode?
The dance.
The dance at the very end?
I just thought it was a sweet way to end it, and I really liked how they showed, like I said before, the upside down again at the very end, to show you, like, it's not really
the
over.
Mind Flayer
is
is above that gymnasium in the upside down. He's above it, so he's watching all of them. It's almost like he knows. And I think, like I was telling you earlier, I think Hopper and Dustin are both infected with that virus. Now, whether it affects them the same way it did to Will, no, probably not. They probably got like a small little dosage of it, because Will was down there for a full week, and then like a few days in the actual like incubation period where the you know, with the Demogorgon shit all over him. My favorite moment from this episode was definitely Hopper and 11 and 11 closing that gap. That shit was insane. I thought 11 was gonna die. It reminds me a lot from this old anime. It's Akira. Something else in Japanese, but basically it looked like it was ripped straight out of that anime and put onto this. Like 11's eyes are getting blackened again. She's getting blood all over her face. Her nose is bleeding. Like, that shit is insane. And I don't know. I really enjoyed that. That was definitely one of the most intense moments. And it does help the fact that the CGI was on point. Like, the CG made you. It didn't pull you away from it. Like, for an example, I recently watched this movie called Train to Busan, which is this Korean zombie flick. Fucking excellent movie. Really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot, but towards the end of it, it seems like they ran out of money for the CG department, and it sort of took you away from it. You know what I mean? It kind of, I'm not going to speak on anything to spoil that movie for anyone, but, you know, the CGI gets a little bit weak towards the end, and it takes away from that. But The Gate was a perfect episode to wrap up Stranger Things 2. Now, that's pretty much all we're going to cover in this. We've been doing this for about 30 minutes. Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about for the, I mean, we're probably doing another one of these, but did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I just think that Stranger Things 2, like, really brought it. You know what I mean? Like, they definitely stepped up their, you know, CGI. They stepped up their storyline, the characters. They did everything better. It was an actual improvement on a series. I really, really thought it was pretty badass. I would love to do another one of these, because I feel like there's a lot we didn't talk about. Yeah,
we barely touched these episodes. I think what's going to have to happen before we do that, though, is I'm going to have to go back and rewatch all the episodes again.
Yeah, because we haven't talked about, like, the little love triangle with Stan.
Mad Max and Dustin.
Oh,
and,
that one too. Well,
yeah.
then also the Nancy and Steve and Jonathan one. We haven't talked about the buyer's dad. We haven't talked.
Yeah, we didn't talk about how creepy that investigative reporter guy is. He's like basically getting these teenagers drunk. But I thought for sure he was going to try to like molest them with all these like sexual assault things coming. I thought that might be the angle they're going to. No, he just wanted them to get together and basically quit bullshit. And so I appreciate him for that.
Yeah, there's so much we didn't talk about.
Yeah, and he kind of opened up that whole Worms Gate of like, well, citizens of, I keep wanting to call
Hawkins.
this place Erie, Indiana, because I don't know if you guys remember that old show that used to come on the Disney Channel back in the day. It was something Erie. It had a very similar name to Stranger Things, but it was like called Erie Town or something. It was
Halloween Town?
No, definitely wasn't that. It was basically a brother and his younger brother. It was actually, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there's a movie called Dustin Checks In. It's basically this monkey, these two kids, and their dad live at this hotel. Their dad is like someone who works at the hotel, and they basically get this chimpanzee into the mix. The actor who's in the movie that I'm talking about now plays that character's older brother. But anyway, it was something Erie, Indiana, or something like that. And that's what, I keep wanting to call it that. But anyway, the investigative reporter was able to open up those floodgates and kind of, let everyone know what's happening in Hawkins. But with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. In the next podcast that we do together will be about me explaining to her different things with Game of Thrones. I think you guys will get a lot of fun and interest out of that. Do you have anything you want to say, babe, before we go?
Hopefully this wasn't too annoying for me to be here.
I'm sure they love it. It's nice to have a female's voice sometimes instead of mine. But like I said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please slap a like on this video. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Let us know what you were thinking. Let us know if you want me to add up actual like visual images to what we're talking about next time. I kind of didn't do that in this video. I know I'm lazy. But if you would like to be entered into my contest, all you have to do, and you can win. There's actually going to be 5 separate winners for these contests, but the top 3 prizes are listed down below in the description, and you can also click that link, follow all those instructions, you'll be entered into that contest. But basically, like this video, leave a comment down below, subscribe to me here on YouTube, then hop on Twitter and on Instagram and follow me. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunts.